Good afternoon, everyone. New at 4, Attorney General Merrick Garland just wrapped up his press conference on the investigation into former President Trump and the search at Mar-a-Lago. The Justice Department asked a court to unseal the search warrant the FBI received before searching the Florida estate. Garland cited the substantial public interest in the matter in announcing the request and underscored the legitimacy of the warrant.
First, I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter. Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly. Third, let me address recent unfounded attacks on the professionalism of the FBI and Justice Department agents and prosecutors. I will not stand by silently when their integrity is unfairly attacked.
Garland also said he personally approved the search warrant, which was part of an ongoing Justice Department investigation into the discovery of classified White House records recovered from Trump's home in Palm Beach. It was not immediately clear if and when the unsealing request filed in federal court in Miami might be granted or when the documents could be released. The man who engaged police in an armed standoff in Jamestown is now facing charges. Kevin Garnica was booked into the Stutsman County Jail on charges of terrorizing, preventing arrest, possession of meth, and felonious restraint. Police say on August 4th, a woman escaped a home after being held against her will. Garnica barricaded himself inside the Jamestown home for several hours. Authorities say he'd made threats weeks before that he would hurt or kill law enforcement. Homes and a daycare nearby had to be evacuated until the situation was resolved. We've learned new information on a fugitive search late last night. Just after 11 p.m., Fargo police swarmed an area near an elementary school in the 1600 block of Main Avenue. Authorities were searching for an at-large fugitive after multiple incidents at the location. Police say they tried to stop a man who had an outstanding warrant, but he took off. They called in the police canine. However, they couldn't find the suspect. Viewers tell us police had streets blocked off while they were canvassing the area near Jefferson Elementary. That case is still under investigation. Summer joins us now with a first look at your forecast. Summer?
Thank you so much, Stacy, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Sky's looking a little bit different today. We've got some darker clouds overhead after a little bit of blue sky and sunshine this morning. Looking overhead in South Fargo, we've got some modest clouds, or those bubble-like clouds caused by sinking air. And we have rain on the horizon as well. But here in Fargo, currently, just some dark skies. Here's a look at satellite and radar where we've got showers stretching from Langdon and Devil's Lake all the way through Carrington, a few in Jamestown, stretching back towards Mayville, and then down into southeastern North Dakota and the southern Red River Valley. Right now, that rain is just missing Fargo to the west. So Castleton might be seeing a little bit of that rain right now, and Fergus Falls missing it just to the west as well. Temperatures have been slightly on the cooler side today, mostly in the 70s, but we're at 81 right now in Wadena. Your hourly planner for the next couple of hours here in Fargo. We're going to continue to see mostly cloudy skies and a chance for some rain and maybe even some thunderstorms overnight. Stacy, I'll have your hour-by-hour forecast and a look ahead towards the weekend as well, coming up in a little bit.
All right, thanks so much, Summer. The Minnesota Nurses Association has announced a plan to vote on a strike next week. Officials say the union wants to work with healthcare providers to address staffing and retention and patient costs. After months of negotiations, they haven't been able to come to an agreement with hospital executives. If the vote passes, around 15,000 nurses in the Twin Cities and Duluth will strike, making it the largest in U.S. history. Former Minneapolis police officers Tu Tao and J. Alexander King have filed their appeal to appeal their federal sentences for violating George Floyd's civil rights. In July, Tao was sentenced to 3.5 years, King to 3 years after a jury found them guilty of 2 counts of violating Floyd's civil rights in the 2020 slaying. Their state trial will begin on October 24th. In today's Consumer Alert, prices for just about everything we buy have increased at a rapid rate throughout the pandemic, and that could soon lead to make a major payment adjustment for Social Security recipients. The Social Security Administration calculates annual cost of living adjustment by comparing last year's inflation data to this year's. That change was 5.9%, but with prices up 8.5%, many people's benefits aren't keeping up with the cost, and Social Security recipients may see big changes ahead.
There may be a glimmer of hope. While we only have 1 month of data for the third quarter of this year, it's already showing a big increase from last year. When the Social Security Administration announces COLA for 2023 in mid-October, it could be over 9%. That would be the biggest increase since 1981.
That would boost a monthly payment of $1,600 to more than $1,700. And if the rate of inflation comes down throughout this year and next, Social Security recipients would get to keep the higher amount. Air travelers are finally getting some relief on the cost of flights. The government's Consumer Prices Report says the average fare fell nearly 8% in July to $311, but that's still nearly 28% higher than a year ago. Strong demand coupled with fewer flights helped spark the rise. Airlines also blame high fuel prices. Drivers in half the country are seeing some relief at the pump after the national average of gas fell below $4 a gallon today. The good news comes just as the summer travel season is winding down. Elise Preston reports from New York.
Across the country, drivers are on the hunt for cheaper gas.
$3.99, it's good.
According to AAA, the average nationwide cost for regular is now $3.99 per gallon, down almost 70 cents from a month ago. That's also more than $1 lower than it was in June, when gas prices peaked.
It is a little bit better, but yeah, I mean, gas is kind of insane right now.
But overall, AAA spokesman Andrew Gross says people are driving less.
Demand numbers are similar to what we saw back in 2020. And remember, 2020, nobody was going anywhere. We were right in the middle of the pandemic.
Despite the relief at the pump, AAA says most drivers believe the price of gas is still too high and want to see the numbers go down even further.
It's too high. I mean, it's hard for people to get around. People have to work.
I wish somebody could explain it to me.
Falling fuel prices did help inflation slow last month, providing some good news for President Biden.
We're seeing some signs that inflation may be beginning to moderate.
Analysts say drivers should fill up their tanks now before the hurricane season threatens to push gas prices up again. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
The Federal Reserve will meet next month and could raise interest rates again to slow down prices on things like food. The governors of Arizona and Texas are both sending migrants who have requested asylum in the U.S. to Washington, D.C. and New York. The programs cost those states millions of dollars. Critics say it's a political stunt. The governors both say it's necessary to relieve the strain on cities on the Mexico border.
They cannot handle the overwhelming number of illegal immigrants coming across the border.
Texas has sent more than 6,500 asylum seekers out of state. 11 emergency shelters have been opened in New York to deal with the influx. The mayor of D.C. requested help from the National Guard, but that request was rejected by the administration. In the ongoing fight against COVID, the FDA now recommends taking 3 home tests if you're exposed to COVID to boost the accuracy of the result. Previously, the FDA had advised taking 2 over 3 days. The agency says new studies suggest that method missed too many infections and resulted in people spreading the virus. Just in time for school, the CDC has dropped the recommendation that Americans quarantine if they come into close contact with an infected person. The agency says people no longer need to stay at least 6 feet away from others. The CDC recommendations apply to everyone, but the changes could be particularly important in schools, where classes resume this month in many parts of the country.